Can anyone hear me now? Let's see. If you please type in the chat if you can hear me. Yes, okay. Good, good. Oh, okay, slight technical hitch, but let's continue. So, welcome everyone. Welcome to my tutor coding squads. Let's see if the chat function's working. Could everyone please type in their name and where they're calling from? Let's see. Can everyone see me as well? That's important too. Okay, someone here is from England, probably. Okay, like that. Someone's called Aiden. Hi, Aiden. Someone's from Cheshire. Okay, cool, cool. Another English person. Another English person. Cool. Someone's called James. Hi, James. Okay, we'll give it a few more minutes for people to join. Okay, another person's from England. Okay, I'm starting to notice just a trend here. A lot of English viewers. If you're just joining us, we're just saying your name and where you're from or where you're calling from. Let's see where everyone else is. That's fine, you don't have to share your name. Oh, someone's calling from France. Wow, very nice. Whereabouts in France? South of France. Okay, cool, cool. Okay. Let's move on to a different question. Has anyone done any kind of programming before? Type in the chat if you have and what kind of things you've done. Okay, someone said yes, they have done programming. That's cool. Anybody else? A tiny bit on Python, and I frequently code on Scratch. Okay, cool, cool. That is really cool. Have you made any kind of like games in Scratch before? Python in school? Love it. Okay. We're going to be covering a lot of Python stuff that you would do in school as well. I'm currently doing a bit on Python at school. Okay, I'm guessing Python's quite popular at school. Well, this is going to be great for that. Anyone else done any kind of Python or programming? Oh, wow, someone's done C++. I respect that. As someone who's had to do C++ before, it's very, very difficult. So, big respect. Schools love it. Yeah, schools do love Python. Schools love Python so much. It's quite a good language. I quite like it. Okay, we'll give it a few more minutes for everyone to start joining. For those of you who are just joining, we're just making sure that the chat function works by typing in where you're calling from and any kind of like programming stuff that you've done before. Could be projects, could be school stuff, could be different programming languages you've done. I just want to know. Oh, I got a message that says we only got like 4 lessons on Python ever. Okay, some schools are different than others. My school, we did like, I think 2 years of Python. Someone says same. Okay, so maybe not a lot of Python experience. That is absolutely fine. You do not need any Python experience for this. I'm just interested to see what you guys know. Okay, we'll wait a few more minutes. Oh, thank you. I love Disney, so Disney teacup for today. Oh, everyone loves the cup. Thank you. I'm a big Disney fan. What's everyone else's interests? Does anyone else like Disney, or isn't it the cup from Beauty and the Beast? Yes, good eye. It is the cup. It's Chip from Beauty and the Beast. Okay, everyone likes the cup. Oh, thank you. I feel so loved. I like Star Wars. I love Star Wars too. In fact, up in my room, I have Star Wars posters everywhere. I'm a big fan of Star Wars. So, that's really cool. What about everyone else? I like Star Wars and Marvel. I reckon we get along. I love Star Wars. I love Marvel. I love all the new Marvel TV shows. I like this one show, and I love video games and drawing a lot. Okay, cool. I'm glad that you said you like video games, because that might come into our sessions later on. So that's really cool. What is the show? Oh, okay, Cowboy Bebop. I'm pretty sure that's an anime, but I'm not entirely sure. If someone could clarify whether or not that's an anime. It's really old though. Oh, okay. I thought they did a reboot. I'm not sure of my knowledge. Alrighty. I'm watching the original, but I think they did a live action reboot. I think they did. Okay. I think it'd be a good chance to get started. We'll let, if other people join, I'll catch them up. But, okay. So, first of all, let's get my screen set up. Can you guys see this? I am using Streamlabs. Well done. First of all, can everyone see the slideshow on the screen? Please type yes in the chat if you can. Okay, I'm getting yes. Yes, we can see it. Okay. Yay, looks great. Okay, awesome. So, perhaps. Okay, so, welcome everyone to my tutor coding squads, day one. Today we are going to cover a little bit about Python and how it works, and we're going to cover some basics on variables, inputs, outputs, and some integer mathematics. You don't need any kind of Python experience for this, so it's completely beginner class. So if you've never seen Python before, you'll be absolutely fine. So, yeah, like I said before, what we're going to do today is we're going to look at what actually Python is. So we're going to do a bit of background on Python, where did it come from, how is it used. We're also going to look at how to install Python. If you've got Python installed on your computer, that's absolutely fine, but I will show you how to install it on your computer anyway. We're going to look at what idle is and what the shell is. Some of you may have seen this before, some of you may have never seen this before. Then we're also going to look at how to write, store, and run different Python programs. And then we're going to get into actual Python programming with outputs, inputs, and storing data with integer mathematics. So, first things first, installations. I thought it'd be best to start with the installations so you can have them running in the background just in case some of you have. I see some of you have already just downloaded Python. fabulous. If you haven't, I will show you. I've actually completely got rid of Python on my computer to show you how to do it. So we'll start with Windows first, because that is my computer that I have. So there should be a link in the description of where you need to go to find the Python downloader, but essentially can everyone see Python back up on the screen now? Type yes if you can see Python back on the screen. Yes. Okay, wonderful. So this is basically the Python website. You just go to python.org and that's where you need to go. To install it, you click on downloads. Now, the most recent is Python 3.10.7. You can use that one. That should work perfectly fine. However, I found that the best kind of version would be Python 0.9.13. But if you got Python 3.10, you should be fine. But to find a different one, what you can do is you click on Windows, and we're going to search for one that says Python 3.9.13. And that brings us to this one here. Then you're going to scroll all the way down, and you've got these files here. So if you've got a Windows computer, like myself, you're going to click on the Windows installer. Now they've got two here, 64-bit and 32-bit. If you don't know which one your computer is, 64-bit should work. It's more recommended. So you click that one. That will then allow you to get the executable up. And then if you click File, and then you just run it as normal. You might need, if some of you might have parental, you might need to get admin access for that. But then it comes up to this setup. Now, here's where you need to pay attention. So, with this setup here, what you need to do is you'll first need to click, I think some people have missed something. If you have not installed it correctly or you're not sure, it's perfectly fine to reinstall it and just follow along. Do you guys need me to skip back? That's absolutely fine. So, what you do is on the Python 3.9 website, you scroll all the way down till you see Files, and then you click on Windows Installer, and then that gets your Windows installer here. You can also rewatch the video afterwards, that's true, but I'll try and keep it a little bit slower. So, once you've got your installer up, you want to click Add Python 3.9 to Path. Click that box. That box is very important. Next thing you want to do is you want to press Customize Installation and make sure that all these things are ticked. They should be ticked, but it's good to just double check. Once you've done that, you can then press Install Now, and then we wait for it to install. So I'll just bring the camera off while we wait for it to install. Does that all make sense to anyone? Does anyone have any questions as of right now? It's not there. What do you mean by that? If you wouldn't mind explaining. I'm on the website, I don't see a download thingy. Okay, so if you go to the website, it should be python.org. There should be a button that says downloads. I've got a question here from Michael, says, how do you do it again? I'll show you one more time, but I will need to move on. I will also give you plenty of time to download it as well. So just wait for my one to install and then I'll show you again. So basically, the way you do it is you go to the Python website. You can literally just type Python into Google. You click Python, and then you've got this button here that says downloads. Make sure it's python.org. That's the one you're looking for. Then when you click downloads, you'll search for Python for Windows, and then you scroll all the way until you see Python 3.9.13. Give that a click. It should say Python 3.9.13. 13 at the top. Scroll all the way down to see files, and then you can click the Windows installer to install it. And now mine is all set up and it's all finished downloading. So I'm just going to quickly close that up so you guys can install it while I do a bit of talking about what Python actually is. It should hopefully be done by the time I finish my little speech. Oh, someone said, I am so confused, may you do it again? I can do it one more time, but I really should probably move on. I'll show you one more time. .9.14 should also work. So I'll show you one more time. Basically, you go to the Python website, click Downloads, click Windows here, this one. Scroll till you find the one that says Python 3.9.13. It's a little bit further. Oh no, I've lost it. .9.13. This one here, you click on it, you scroll all the way down till you see files, and then you click on the installer, and then you can install it from there. Okay, that is the last time I can go through with that one, unfortunately, guys. Because I do need to move on. So hopefully you guys can get that all installed, up and running in time for coding. Just to show you guys, I'm just going to put the screen back up on again. So that is how you install it for Windows. If you're installing it on the Mac, it's exactly the same process, but you're going to choose the Mac version, and to make sure it's working, you're going to open up Terminal. This symbol here is the terminal symbol in Mac, and you'll type Python 3 into that terminal, and that should open up a Python shell. Hopefully that is all clear now. If it's not clear, you might want to skip back a sec into the live stream just to check to make sure that you know what you're doing, but I am going to move on. So now let's actually have a little bit look at Python programming. So, first of all, what is Python? So Python is a high-level language. Now, if any of you are doing kind of like GCSE work or stuff like that, you may have come across this before. But basically, a high-level language is a language that is understood, a programming language that is understood by humans. It's written in English and it's at the human level. The other type of language is a low-level language. So this is a language that is only understood by computers and is written in binary, so ones and zeros. So we write in high-level language, so Python or Java or something like that, and then the computer will take our high-level language and try and understand it in the low-level language. So that's what it is. It's also a real-world language. Now, I've got a message here. I don't have a Windows or a Mac. I'm on a Chromebook. Okay, so for that, you might want to search up, for this session at least, you could use Python online. If you search Python online, you could find an idle shell that will run on your computer. Unfortunately, Chromebooks aren't very good for Python programming, and at the next sessions, you might want to choose a different computer. Where was I? Oh, yes. So Python is not only a high-level language, but it's also a real-world language. It is used throughout the computer programming world. It's used in Dropbox, it's used in Instagram, it's even used at the Large Hadron Collider in CERN. It's very, very useful and is widely used. It's also very capable and fast. Compared to a lot of other programming languages, it's not the fastest in the world, but it's pretty good for what it does. But it's also designed to be easy and teachable. So why did I choose Python to teach? Well, I've kind of already explained it, but it is lightweight, it is readable, it's basically written in human English, it's easy to get started with, and it can be used in so many different circumstances. It can be used in data science, it can be used in finance, it can be used in Artificial intelligence. Can Python help you mine crypto? I am not entirely sure. I would suspect there's probably a crypto package out there, but I do not know, unfortunately. But that's probably something you could Google yourself. But yeah, it can be used in many different circumstances. Okay. So, looking at what actually Python is. So Python is a programming language, and a program is just a set of instructions that makes your computer do a specific set of tasks. Now Python, when you install it, comes with something called IDLE, which stands for Integrated Development and Learning Environment. There's two components to IDLE. There's the shell and there's your files. Now the shell is kind of like a virtual computer on your actual computer, and that's where all the programs are going to run. Then you have your files, which you write your program in to then run it on the shell. I've also got the housekeeping. When we start to actually do some Python stuff, ain't IDLE just standing still. In the English, if you write it in lowercase and you're just writing it in English, yes, but IDLE is an acronym for Integrated Development and Learning Environment. But yes, you are also correct. IDLE is just standing still. Where was I? Oh yeah, housekeeping. One of the biggest things when people do Python programming is they lose their files. They save it in some random place on their computer and they don't know where it's gone. So please, 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 when you're going through all these programs, save your stuff in a place that you know where you're saving it. Sound cool? Okay. So we will start up the Python interpreter. So I'm just going to quickly get it up on my screen. Okay, now let's switch back. Can everyone see the IDLE shell on my screen? Please type in yes, if you can see it. Okay, someone said yes. Anyone else can see it? I got a yep, I got a yes. Okay, wonderful. So this is the I see everything. Thank you. Okay, so this is the Python shell. This is like your virtual computer where you can, program everything. To start, we are going to create a file to do our programming in. Oh, thank you. You love the background photo, by the way. Oh, thanks. Okay, so what I'd like you to do is once you've got Python shell up, you're going to press File and then you're going to press New File. How do I code a background? Well, actually, we'll get into that later on in these sessions. This then opens up a file here. Now this is basically like a text file right now. You can type anything you want in there. I'll just quickly wait for that to load. There we go. What you want to do is once you've got that file uploaded, how do we need to open Python? Yes, you do. So the way that you upload Python is you go to Windows, you're going to find the Python, and you're going to click Python 3.9, and then you open IDLE like so. So you just click IDLE, and then it opens up like that. Don't open up C++. Anyway, what was I? So once you've opened up the Python shell and you want to open up a new file, then you want to save that file. So you're going to click File, you're going to click Save As, and then you're going to find a safe place to store it. So you are going to make a new folder, call it something, I don't know, relevant. So I'm going to call it My Tutor Coding because that's what we're doing, but you can call it whatever you like. And I'm going to name my file to be day1. And if I press save, you can now see at the top here, it says day1.py. Okay, I'll quickly wait for everyone to have a go at that. Boot up Unreal Engine. If you like game design, Unreal Engine and C++ is a pretty good one, but someone says it does not open. So yours doesn't open as well. Are you sure you've installed it correctly? you should just be able to press Python 3.9, and if you click idle, it should open. If you click Python, sometimes if you click Python instead of idle, that might be. So if you click this one here, for example, it's not going to work. If it's not working, what I recommend you do is you uninstall it from your computer and then reinstall. I can move my video. Let's move it down here. Is that better? Okay. Awesome. Okay. I am going to carry on with the programming. So the first thing that we're going to learn is how to output stuff to the shell. And the way you do that, so outputting. This, by the way, this is a comment. I can put as many comments into my program as I want. It won't get read by the shell. So the way that you can output stuff to the shell is using the function called print. So as you can see here, if I type anything inside print, so if I type, for example, hello world, and then I press run, this then runs in my shell. As you can see here, it's printed out hello world. So please give it a try. You can also try lots of different other ones. So if I type in, my name is Fliss, I can then run that. Run module, and it prints out my name is Fliss. So that's probably the most basic thing that you can learn, but that's how you get started. Oh, I've got a message here. So you can also have multiple print statements underneath each other. So you can kind of write a little story. So you can start with print, and then I could do print, my name is Fliss, I live in Glasgow, and then I can also print, I have 12 cats, or something like that. Pay very close attention to the speech marks here. If you're writing words, you need to make sure that everything's actually in speech marks. I will explain why that is in a second, but for now, if I just press run, I can then print out line by line a bunch of words, and we've started to create our first program. So that is pretty cool. However, we can do a lot more with it. One thing that we can do is we can use something called variables. Has anyone ever heard of a variable before? Could you type in the chat if you have? My friend enjoys making Roblox games using Python. I didn't know you could make Roblox games using Python. I thought you could use Lua. That is really cool. That is very impressive. Okay, so people have heard of variables before. Those who have heard of variables, could you please type in the chat what you think a variable is? Okay, some people haven't. That's fine. Anyone in the chat know what a variable is? Please type it. And oh, someone called Superly said a element, feature, or factor that's very liable to change. Yeah, that is the Google definition. Brilliant. Someone says a variable is a data store. Brilliant. Someone's heard of them. It's a container that stores a value. To store values. Yeah, pretty much. A symbolic name that is a reference to a pointer to an object. Okay, that's a lot. I love how everyone Googled what variable was and then typed in the definition. Fair enough. Someone says, I have learnt it, but I've forgotten what it is. Fair enough. I will show you what a variable is. So a few of you got it right. A variable is a way of storing data, and then we can use it throughout our program. So if I get rid of the things that I've currently typed, so if I wanted to use the name Fliss throughout my program, but I didn't want to have to keep typing out again and again and again, what I can do instead is save it in a variable and then use it throughout my program. So this is how you start to create a variable. You start by giving your variable a name. So I'm going to call it user name. Hopefully everyone's following. And then you type in equals, and then afterwards you type in what you want your variable to be. So in this case, I want my username to be Fliss. And that's how you start. Then you can use that variable throughout the program. So if I print out welcome to the chat, and then I print out username, and then I run that program, it says welcome to the chat Fliss. It's taken what was in username and printed it out. Pretty cool, right? And that means I can print out username 1,000 different times and I'd never have to keep typing Fliss. I can just use username. It also means that if the username changes throughout the program, let's say I no longer was Fliss and instead my name was Rose. Well, if I run the program, it's going to change to Rose rather than I having to change everything in my program to fit the username. Does that make sense to everyone? Type yes in the chat if that makes sense to you. Or if you've got any questions if it doesn't make sense. Okay, that makes sense to Catherine. Cool. Yes, it makes sense to Matthew. Awesome. I'll give you guys a few seconds to try it out. Has anyone tried it out yet? Sort of. Okay, fair enough. I'll just wait a few seconds for people to try out what we're doing so far. Does anyone have any questions on what a variable is or how this is working? No? Okay, I will move on then. So, as well as using variables, we can use something called concatenation. So what that basically is I can type out username here. For some reason, mine's not saving. We don't know why. What I recommend you do is make sure, if you've got a particular error, you can type that into the chat so I can check it. But basically, if you press save as, and then give it a name properly, okay, in this case I've got to replace it, and then you press run module, that should work for you. If there's a specific error, let me know. But going back to what I was saying, as well as using variables, we can also use something called concatenation. This is where you can add other words, with our username. So rather than just typing out welcome to the chat Rose, we can have other words around it. So I'm going to change it up here. Mine's not working, it says syntax error. If you type in what your syntax error is in the chat, I should be able to help you. So going back to concatenation, I can add other words to this. So if I say welcome to the chat, how are you, plus username plus question mark, now I've added extra stuff to it and it should still work for username. So that's what concatenation is. It's just adding extra stuff. So welcome to the chat, how are you, Rose? And just to prove that the username variable is still working, if I changed it to another name, it will still work in the exact same way. So that is what concatenation is. There's an alternate way of doing concatenation, so concatenation being the plus. Oh, someone's got an error. Lesson 1, print hello world. Print my name is random. Oh, and your message is gone. I couldn't read that, unfortunately. Thanks, I now know how to code in C++. I mean, it's a step up, I guess. C star. Fair enough. Yeah, so, where was I? Concatenation, that's right. User name equals random. Username. I can't see anything wrong with it particularly, unfortunately. What might be making it go funky is if you're doing this rather than an underscore. Sometimes special characters make it go a little bit, but other than that, it looks okay to me. I'm going to move on. Hopefully that fixes it for you. So yes, the alternate way of concatenation. So we can add strings to our words here. We can add words to our variables here, rather. But the alternate way of doing it is something called format. So I can change this here. So instead of saying this, I can do print how are you, open squiggly bracket, close squiggly bracket, question mark, dot format, open bracket, close bracket, username. Now this is going to print out the exact same thing I did before. Just to prove it to you, I just run module, press OK, and it says, welcome to chat, how are you, Abby? So this is just a nicer way of doing it, and what it's doing is it's taking username and replacing where we have these squiggly brackets. Does that make sense to everybody? I'll give everyone a few seconds to try that out. Oh, we got an error here. It says something is wrong with the U and the equals. I'm afraid it's quite hard to deal with errors through the chat, unfortunately. It's working out. Okay, brilliant. Okay. So I'm just going to take a little bit of a break here. Does everyone understand how this part works? Dot format. Type yes in the chat if it makes sense to you, and if it doesn't, please ask a question. Yep, it works. Okay, brilliant. Yes, it works for Super Lee. Awesome, awesome. Yes, it's working for Matthew. Brilliant. Okay. So I will move on then. So currently we've looked at concatenation, which is where you can add pluses to create a full sentence. And we've looked at format, which is a nicer way of doing concatenation, where you can use squiggly brackets instead. Next thing we're going to look at is inputting. So we're able to output stuff to the user, but we also want to be able to take information from the user. Why? Well, when we do real programs in real life, we don't want the user to see all this back-end stuff. We only want them to see the nice shell stuff, so they don't have to worry about all the programming stuff. This is where inputting comes in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of everything I've currently done, and I'm going to show you how to input. So this time I'm going to set up username just as before. This time, instead of typing what the username is, like Fliss or Rose or Bob or whatever, I'm going to use a function called input. Spelt like this, and you know I've done it correctly because it comes up in a funky purpley colour. Inside the brackets of input, I can write a question to the user, like, what is your name? And what this does is when the program runs, this question will be outputted to the shell, and then whatever they type next will be put into username. So if I now write print welcome to the chat. How are you, squiggly brackets, today? Dot format. Exactly the same as I did before. User name. If I now run that program, what's going to happen is it starts to ask me a question. What is your name? My name is Fliss, so I can just type that in. And then it takes what I did and puts it where username is. So now it's saying, how are you, Fliss, today? Okay, that's not the best actual grammar. I'm going to quickly change that grammar. How are you today, Fliss? That sounds better. So if I run that again, what is your name? My name is Bob. How are you today, Bob? And that's how that works. So as well as outputting, you can input. So could everyone give that a go? See if they can try and input stuff as well. If you guys have got any questions about what we've done so far, feel free to ask. Okay, is everyone clear on what we've done so far? If you are clear and you've had a go, press yes. Type yes in the chat, please. Matthew says yes. Okay, cool. Matthew's giving it a go. Awesome. Gail said yes. Okay, sweet. I'm glad it's working for you. I think everyone else is just giving it a little try. So while you guys are having a go, I'm going to show you a few more things you can do. So you can input your name, but you can also have other variables as well. So if you want to input how old the user is, you can do age equals input. How old are you? And then you can print out your age is a very big number, or something like that. And that way you can ask the user questions and you can get inputs and outputs. And that's how that works. And you can do that for as many different variables as you like. So that is kind of how variables work. They take in the information and store it for when you want to use it throughout your program. Okay. We've got about 15 minutes left, so I am going to move on. Does anyone have any questions before I move on to something else? Oh, Catherine says it worked. Oh, brilliant. I'm so glad it worked. Did it work for anyone else? If it did work for anyone else, please let me know. Mine worked better. Okay, fair enough. Anyone else? Yep, it worked for you, Gail. Awesome. I'm so glad. Okay. I am gonna move on. I'm really glad that your programs are working. If you guys have got any questions about what we're doing so far, feel free to drop it in the chat. I'm going to start with a new program. We might have to carry this on in the next session though. So I'm going to save what I've already done. So I'm going to press File, and then I'm going to press Save. And now I'm going to open up a new file. You can have as many files as you like, by the way, as long as you know where you save them. So if you press File, Save As, I'm going to call this Day 1 Maths, because we're going to do a little bit of integer mathematics. Okay, I'll give everyone a few seconds just to give that a go. Okay, so we will move on to integer mathematics. So first of all, you might be asking yourself, what is an integer? Does anyone actually know what an integer is? If you do, please type it in the chat. It's quite a weird, obscure word, so not a lot of people know what it is. But if you do, please let me know. Okay, Catherine says a whole number. A whole number? Yep, just numbers, no letters. Yep, that's true. Okay. Yeah, brilliant. That is exactly what an integer is. An integer is a whole number. Now, one of the things Python is really, really good for is a number that is not a fraction, a whole number. That is exactly right. It is a whole number like 15, 21, 156, number with no decimals or fractions. One of the things that Python is really, really good for is mathematics. It's some of the fastest math stuff ever, and it's really, really good for data science. And we're going to look at some of the mathematics now. So to start, I'm going to create two variables to hold two numbers. So I'm going to call it number 1, and I'm going to set that to 5. Notice here how I'm not using speech marks. I'll go over that next session, but it's important that you don't use speech marks here. Some of you who've done Python probably know why. And I'm going to create a one called number 2, and that's going to be equal to 12. Okay, once I have my two variables, I now can do some mathematics with them. So I'm going to write print number 1, this sign, number 2. Oh, Catherine wrote in the chat, by the way, my name is Seb. Ah, sorry, Seb. I've been calling you Catherine the entire time. Okay, so I have put a statement here. Number 1, this operator symbol. Number 2. Before I run the code, can anyone guess what's going to happen in the program? Anyone want to guess? Anyone want to guess what will happen if I do number 1, number 2? It will add 5 and 12. That is exactly right. This is a plus sign. A lot of you probably would have seen this in maths, but if I run the program, it's going to do 5 plus 12, aka 17. We can then replace this with lots of different other operators, and we can try out some maths now. So there's one that does this. So number 1, this symbol, which I'm assuming most of you have seen before. This is subtraction, so it's going to give us a negative number. It's going to print out -7. And that is where the simplicity stops. So we have a few wacky symbols that may not make sense, but if you've done programming, they probably will. So we have print number 1 star symbol, number 2. Anyone want to guess what the star symbol is going to do? Multiply. Okay, I'm guessing some people have done this before. That is correct. if you run that, it should multiply 5 times 12, which I believe is 60, if my mind's still working today. Yep, it is 60. Brilliant. There's a few other symbols we can do. We have print number 1 slash number 2. Anyone want to guess what this one might do? My form tutor is a computing teacher. Okay, I feel like you got a bit of a head start to everyone then. Superly says divide. Superly, you are correct. If you type in run module, it will do, well, 5 divided by 12 is not a pretty number, so it does 0.14666666667. Brilliant. Okay, let's do a few more difficult ones. So we've seen plus, minus, multiply, divide. What about print number 1 percentage sign number 2? Anyone want to guess what that one does? This one always seems to trip up people. I wonder if anyone's got any guesses. Percentage of 5 and 12. That is a brilliant guess, but unfortunately, Matthew, it's not correct. Anyone else want to guess? It might make more sense if I run it. I'll change numbers to 12 and 5, actually. That might make it a bit easier. 12 and 5. I'll run it. This one gives me the number 2. Anyone else want to guess? No? Okay, fair enough. This one is a really, really strange one. This is so strange that it actually has its own name, and it's called the modulo. And what the modulo does is it finds the remainder from dividing the first number by the second number. So 12 divided by 5 is 2 remainder 2, I believe. So it's going to print up 2. If I do a number that it goes in completely, like 12 divided by 3, well, that's 4 remainder 0. So if I run modulo, hopefully it should just print out 0. There we go. So that's what that one means. We'll do one more and then we might wrap up for today. And that is print number 1 star star number 2. Anyone want to guess what star star's going to do? Let's see if we got any guesses. Square! That is a very good guess. Square it, okay? You guys are on the right track. Just not exactly right. Like you're so close. You might be trying it with 2. If I change that number, then it's squaring it. What's close to squaring but not? Mr. No. Oh, okay, because of like the square and Mr. Maker. Cubit. Yes! Yes, it is, but it isn't. Oh, you guys are so close. Okay. It is to the power of. So not cubing, not squaring, but I mean it is cubing and squaring. So 12 to the power of 2 is 144. Triangle. It's not triangling it. It is to the power of. So that is what that one does there. Now, you can use these to create different calculators. You can do it to make a dog calculator. I don't think we've got enough time for that one, unfortunately, but we might have to do it next session. But you can use these in all kinds of really complicated mathematics. It does it really, really quickly. So it's very, very useful. Okay, so I think that's mostly all we've got time for. Just to quickly wrap up what we learned in this session, we started off by looking at what Python is and how Python is used in the real world. Then we installed Python, and then we actually got to create our own Python programs. We got to create a program that was able to create variables, output variables, and input variables. And then we looked at a little bit of integer mathematics. Next time, we are going to look a bit more into integer mathematics, and we're going to look into different data types as well. And hopefully we'll get to some time to build some really cool games in Python. Just to let you guys know, as we go on through this course, we're going to be building more and more complex video games. And eventually, at the end of the course, you get to build your very own video game in Python. So if we've got any video game enthusiasts here, then this is going to be an amazing course for you because you'll get to build your very own video game. While we've got about 5 minutes left, does anyone have any questions about Python or anything they'd like to add or anything they'd like to say? Now is the time to say it. Okay, I'll ask you a different question. Who enjoyed the session today? Who enjoyed learning about Python? Me? Oh, I am so glad. Okay, brilliant. I'm really glad you enjoyed it, Gail. Famous Songs of Piano enjoyed it as well. That is amazing to see. Again, if you guys have any questions on Python, Seb, you enjoyed it as well. Awesome. Feel free to try out any of the things that we did as well in your own free time. Okay, brilliant. And yeah, if you've got any more questions about Python or programming or just anything in general, feel free to ask. When is the next session? Okay, so these sessions will run every Tuesday for about 11 weeks, between 5 and 6. So same time as this week, next week. Does that make sense? Okay. Okay, brilliant. Anyone got any other questions? Okay, I've got one more question before we end. Did everyone get to try out Python today? Was there anyone who was just not trying out Python? Yes, okay, brilliant. Yes, I enjoyed using Python. Oh, that is so, so good to hear. I'm so happy. Thank you, Seb, and thank you, Famous Songs for Beginners. Okay, that is time, everybody. Thank you so much for coming to our first session. Next session will be the same time next Tuesday. Hope you enjoyed it as much as I did, and I can't wait to see you all next week. Oh, what kind of games will we make? We will make a ton of different kind of like arcade style games. We'll do multiplayer games. We should do like quite simple games, but they're really, really fun. Okay, everyone's saying thank you. Okay, I will see you guys next week. Thank you.